All right, everybody, welcome back. This is Breakthrough Entrepreneur. My name is Vince Trujillo, and I have a special guest today. Again, we have Tom Antion with us. He's an internet multimillionaire, quote unquote, guy next door, and founder of the only licensed, dedicated internet marketing school in the country, which I didn't know about. That's really cool. He's the subject of an upcoming Hollywood documentary called The American Entrepreneur, and that's premiering here in spring of 2021. Hopefully, we'll find out more about that here in a little bit. Welcome, Tom Antion. How are you doing, man?
Good, Vince. Hey, man. Can't wait, man. Can't wait to talk to your crowd.
Yeah, we're happy to have you on. Part of what we do at Breakthrough Entrepreneur is we help entrepreneurs, business owners, people looking at transitioning from a 9-to-5 lifestyle. We help them with the biggest breakthroughs that they need, learning from other successful entrepreneurs and people who've come before them with biohacking, tips, tricks, tools, processes, whatever it is to get them to the next level of what they're trying to achieve. And so Tom Antion, our guest today, is so full of information, advice.
You're going to say so full of it.
That's the last part of it. So
right.
the guy's a joker. We'll try to get him to commit to some jokes here and him to put some things in here. But we're happy to have you on, man. So Tom Antion is a member of a podcast mastermind that I'm a member of now. So I got to meet him for the first time, and the guy's just a wealth of knowledge. And like, we want to find out a little bit more about your upbringing. Like, we can start just with the fact that you have never worked a day in your life, as far as a 9-to-5 job.
Right. Well, I did apply for a job once accidentally because it said it was 401k. And I thought, that's a pretty good starting salary. Apparently it wasn't 400,000 to start. So that was it. So no, I worked high school. I did a stint and I did a little stint in the summer at college, but other than that, I was always entrepreneurial since I was 10 years old. Before I graduated college, I owned 5 apartment buildings and a hotel, starting with nothing. Wow. And and then just ever since, it's been anything to avoid actually working for a living for somebody else. They say an entrepreneur will work 80 hours a week or 120 hours a week to get out of working 40 for somebody else.
Absolutely. I'm there too, man. So you said it very interesting, avoided. Like, what was it about having a job that you very early on, because most of us, we get enter that trap. I did it. I was in corporate world. People tell you, go to high school, go to college, do the normal 9-to-5. What was it about your upbringing or whatever it is that made you want to avoid a job?
Well, I'm pretty sure it had to do heavily with my dad. He came from Syria. He's also kind of highlighted in that documentary that they're doing, because he came from Syria on a cattle boat in the early 1900s with nothing. And he actually put the first electric light bulb in Carnegie, Pennsylvania.
Wow.
And he was head of household at 10 years old. And at 13 years old, he had his own electrical contracting firm. So that's all I saw, when I grew up. And you asked me about a poster that's behind me on my podcast set here.
Yeah.
And it's, did you ever hear of Johnny Cash?
Oh yeah. I'm a big Johnny Cash fan.
Oh, okay. Well, you may know of the song A Boy Named Sue.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, A Boy Named Sue, for those of you who don't know, is this older drunk cowboy figured he wouldn't be around for his kid to grow up. So he named him Sue to make him scrappy and fighting all the time to make him tough, all right? Well, my dad, I'm the baby of 6 boys. So my dad was 50 when he had me. So he figured he wouldn't be around. He only went to 2nd grade, but he was one of the most brilliant people I knew. And so when I was just a baby, just crawling, he would put pillows in front of me and put my toys on the other side to teach me how to overcome obstacles. And to this day, I'm unstoppable. Now, I won't cheat anybody or step on them to get where I'm going, but if you tell me I can't do something, you better just get out of the way as I blow by doing it. And so that was all from my dad. And he was an entrepreneur. He built by hand cottages and a motel and a gas station and a truck stop, and all by hand. And so that's all I saw was growing up.
That's a great backstory on that. With the rest of your siblings, are they entrepreneurs too? Entrepreneurial?
Two of them are, but the other ones were kind of in the middle, where it was that time where, oh, you got to go to college and you got to do this. Now, I went to college too, but I went on a football scholarship. So, and they went into regular jobs. But my first couple siblings were, just all entrepreneurial. Also, one guy had a car dealership, and the other one was a brilliant electro. If somebody couldn't figure out something, he's like a genius. He could figure it out, and so people like from all over the world would come after him to fix electromechanical stuff. So yeah, but he was already I don't know how old he was when I was born. I mean, maybe 40 years old. So there was a big difference between us, but he had seen my dad too, growing up. So I'm sure that's why he turned entrepreneurial.
Oh man, that's great. So, for a lot of people, it's like, what was that spark? If I have friends and entrepreneurs that I know all over the place, and they started either very young and usually it was because they grew up with that, my grandfather was entrepreneurial, but it took me, it skipped a generation. Then I started doing something later in life. So growing up with that upbringing, a little bit of adversity, it sounds like, was one of the things that, that's what the little picture is back there. The adversity of the pillow between you and what you want.
Yeah.
And the early training of that. There's things about being a youngest child too. I don't know the whole psychology of it, but I know that sometimes the youngest, will be achievers like that or entrepreneurial.
Well, I know that they say that two babies of the family should never get married. I know that. I know because everything boils down to the baby. But see, I grew up in a town of 500 people, and we lived in the suburbs. So I was totally in the sticks. It's still to this day, it's only 500 people. We had a 4-way stop sign, and like 2 of the ways didn't go anywhere.
So 2 ways didn't matter.
Yeah, it's actually, the name of the town is Claysville, Pennsylvania. It was named after the great statesman Henry Clay, but he didn't really sleep there. His horse took a dump there on the way through. That was good enough for us.
I'm sure that's on the city town motto, right?
Yeah, right.
Clay's horse took a dump.
Oh yeah, they saved it. Yeah, it's our monument. That's our So I'm by myself basically. I'm the baby, and all the other. When the other ones went off to school and everything, I'm still by myself all the time. And I was quite a bit overweight, and that actually turned into one of the companies that I owned later. A lot of people that are overweight and as youngsters, they become funny to try to keep from getting beaten up and and everything. So
you're a big guy, so I don't know how many people are picking on you at that.
Well, yeah, but when you were, I was 6 foot, 220 pounds at 12 years old. But when I was in first grade, I was 140 pounds. Okay, so think of a first grader at 6 years old, 140 pounds. So they could have rolled me to school and back. So it wasn't a good time for me. But I got into sports, and then that kind of mellowed out. But in the beginning, so I'm sure I developed humor skills as a defensive skill at that time, and then it just carried through I had a practical joke company. It was like Candid Camera, but it was live. Candid Camera, everybody loves it, but and it's long before Punk'd and all that stuff was around. But Candid Camera, it was great, but you had to get caught by the camera and live in California to have anything to do with it. Right. So I said, let people hire me to pull practical jokes on people. And it was all good-natured stuff at weddings and birthdays and things like that. So we did 4,000 custom-designed practical jokes in around the D.C. area in 6 years. And I got worldwide publicity for it.
When was this?
This was from 1988 till about 1994 when I got on the internet. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah.
So what was your first major entrepreneurial endeavor? Like, what was the first thing that you did?
The real estate stuff in college. I was sitting there.
Go ahead and give us a background. Why real estate? And was it something that a mentor told you, or was it a thing to do at the time? Was it? Hey,
it was a book. It was a book at the time. I remember I'm sitting in a place called Sunnyside, which was the like the student kind of area of this Morgantown, West Virginia. I went to West by God, Virginia, on a football scholarship. So I'm sitting there at Sunnyside, and I was reading this book called How I Turned $1,000 into $1 Million in Real Estate by William Nickerson. This was long before No Money Down and all this stuff. And so I said, well, I should be able to do that, you know. so I went and found an old in that town, everybody rented per person, you know. So there was a lot of converted houses into multiplexes, and put one more student in, that's another $125 a month. This is in the 70s. And so I said I could do that. So I went and found an old lawyer that wanted to quit doing the rental and just cash in. He owned the house free and clear. And I said, look, let me take it over, you know, and I'll pay you off the rents. And he said, okay. So it was the first building was a triplex, and it was an old house converted into. And then at the time at Mountaineer Field, they were getting rid of the old wooden seats, these oak 2x6s, full size, all right, real old. And they're putting plastic ones in. So I went down there and I said, hey, can I have, they said, yeah, we're just going to haul them to the dump. So I grabbed a whole bunch of them, and I went to Kmart and got a $10 circular saw. And I ripped them down the middle, because I remember I seen all this stuff my dad doing. He's very frugal. We had to get used lumber and pull nails out, straighten them out, and reuse them. That's where I came up to. So I ripped them and made an extra room in this triplex, and I got another $125 a month out of it. And so I said, this is cool, you know, because then I had plenty of cash flow because I paid the lawyer. So I found another guy to do the same thing with a fourplex, did the same thing.
And that was part of the book you read? The book you read actually talked about going and asking landlords?
Yeah, finding people that own stuff free and clear and getting them to hold the mortgage. Mm-hmm. See, because they didn't want all the money because they would have paid a big capital gains tax. See, so they were happy to just take payments, and then if I screwed up, they'd just take the place back, you know. So that went on, and I was charging more for the other kids to rent than I was paying in rent where I was renting. Okay. Right. So here's the one of the big lessons I'd like you. I know you like to give lessons to the folks, and the lesson is give before you get. All right, that's the big picture here. But here's what happened. So during the course of me living in this apartment, when the landlord would come over to work on stuff, I would say, hey, Frank, I'll help you put those gutters on, but will you teach me what you're doing, how it works and how to do it and everything? He said, okay. So throughout the whole year, I would help him. Anytime there's something need fixed, I'd be right there helping him and learning and all kinds of stuff. So at the end of the year, he comes over and he says, hey, Tom, I want to talk to you. And I'm thinking, uh-oh, what do we do now? You know, so he said, I want to retire and go to Florida. And I own a hotel about 20 miles from here in Fairmont, West Virginia. And in the 25 years I've been renting to students in this town, not once, ever, has anybody asked to help me do anything, let alone want to learn something. He says, I want to retire down there. I own this place. If you can get the first mortgage, I'll hold back the second mortgage. You'll have no cash in it, and you can own this hotel.
Oh, nice.
And I said, oh, okay. And then the next lesson that goes along with this is persistence. It took me 50 different lending institutions who were all shooing me away as a little dumb kid, you know, high school or college kid, till somebody bit. And I got the first mortgage. He held back the second mortgage. I had no money in the deal. And I made I was still in college making $65,000 a year. And
more than any of the professors. And at that time,
exactly.
More than most of the high level staff at college.
This is in the 70s. Yeah. And I only had to go down once a week. There was a live-in manager, and I made any small repairs and picked up the deposit slips. And so I did that for 6 years. And then the city bought it out for a couple $100,000. put a parking lot in, and I ended up making about $400,000 on the deal in the 70s. So
now there's so many like little tips in that thing.
yeah.
I mean, thinking outside the box is a big one. I mean, like when you had a problem of like, I wanted to add another room, you didn't think, let me go get a contractor, let me go get to home or Lowe's or whatever was around.
That didn't exist in those days.
Right. Wherever you bought
84 lumber was.
Right. So you thought, well, how do I make that happen? I think that's such an important thing too. It's like, how do you make something happen?
Well, also because of this frugal upbringing I had. I mean, my dad one time, a couple of cute stories of him. He was, we were going to buy some used lumber, and there was these big boulders in this guy's yard. And my dad asked the guy, "What are you doing with those boulders?" And the guy said, "Oh man, I just like to get them out of the yard here." My dad took 2 months hauling them in a 1963 Rambler station wagon to our house. And then for the next 6 months, he's out there chiseling them into little pieces and built this beautiful chimney. That's the kind of thing I'm seeing, right?
Oh my God.
And I come home from school one day, he's behind our car with a big concrete tub where you mix mix concrete with a hoe, mix it all up. And I'm like, what are you doing, Dad? Well, the quarter panels on our car had rusted out. So he fixed them with concrete. So that car didn't get very good mileage, but it would go in the snow.
But it could barrel through some things, huh?
Yeah. So that's what I saw. And like I said, we never threw a nail away. We always straightened about and reused them. And that's the kind of, like I said, what I saw. So there was no way, and I didn't have the money to do it anyway, to go, buy brand new lumber and everything, but I could spend $10 on a saw and make my lumber. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a great resourcefulness and everything that you showed there in the upbringing. I think that's really important for people to figure out how to become more resourceful. I know I do, I didn't grow up that way, but when I think of solving a problem, sometimes I think directly out of the box. And then sometimes I go too traditionally instead of trying to come up with a resourceful way of doing it.
Well, also, if you can lean towards keeping your costs down. See, I remember that dot-com bust bubble thing where they were throwing millions of dollars at young kids that had no idea, and they're buying pool tables and everything, and then everybody lost all their money. So the less you can put into it, as long as it's quality, the less you have to make to get profitable. You don't have to make a fortune just to break even. So
bootstrapping.
So keep your costs down.
Finest. Now, how did you take that resourcefulness? So we talked about this is an offline, endeavor. Then you decided to go online, and you were online very early on. What was it about being online that enticed you at that time, being resourceful and entrepreneurial and working in real estate to go into online? And how did that happen, and what turned your lights on about that?
Okay. Well, there's a lot of years in between there, from the 70s to the 1994 when the commercial internet started. So I also in there had 6 years of owning a nightclub where, and I tell everybody I've always worked out of my house. I had a nightclub where I lived above the nightclub. So technically I still worked out of my house.
And you're alive to this day.
Well, that was where it really honed my martial arts and skills that I had been studying my whole life anyway. But I have if you live through something, you can turn it into a profit. So I have a website called Brutal Self-Defense. I was in over 100 violent encounters of bikers trying to kill me, gunfights, knife fights. And so I made it through that. But I've always been lifelong, into that stuff. So that happened. And then when I got out of that, I thought, whatever I get into next is people are going to have a good time and not going to hit me with beer bottles. So that's when I started the Practical Joke Company. And then from there, I started thinking, there has to be something bigger for me. We did 4,000 jobs and parties and all this stuff. But, the average cost was maybe $100 for these jobs. Some bigger. But so I was in a bookstore, and I moved to let a lady go by with a baby stroller. And I hit my head. This is a woo. I'm not really that woo-woo, but this is woo-woo. I hit my head on a book, and I pulled it out, and it was called Speak and Grow Rich. It was about professional speaking by a lady named Dottie Walters. She's passed away now, but she got me. Then I called her up, had a consultation. She got me started in speaking. What's really woo-woo about it is she started her career pushing a baby stroller, selling advertisement door to door. And I had gotten out of the way of this baby stroller to hit my head on her book.
That's about as woo-woo as it gets, Tom.
That's about as woo-woo as it gets, yeah. So I was already an accomplished speaker, but I was selling stuff at the back of the room, cassette tapes back in those days and books. And then it was hard enough to sell stuff across the street in those days, you know? So when I heard the commercial internet coming along, I said, you mean I can sell stuff around the world from my computer? I'm going to figure this out. And so besides on the road like crazy, speaking all over the world, like 12 different countries I was still studying the internet stuff. And I didn't make a nickel for 2 years. And this is back to the persistency. Most people would have quit. But I get after it. And then I got good training by a guy named Corey Rudel. He was like the 30-year-old grandfather of internet marketing. He's died tragically in a car wreck. But he was my first teacher, and he was making $5 million a year from his apartment. So he knew what he was doing. As soon as I got good training, I started making money. It wasn't like it is now, but it was $50 a week, 100, 500, 1,000. Now it's not uncommon, $30,000 a week. So that was the thing is that I was looking for something for the speaking. I was looking for something bigger. And then for the internet, I thought this is a way I can really expand. And a lot of people will say, well, yeah, you're making your money now teaching people how to make money, right? Well, yeah, but I didn't start that way. I was selling public speaking stuff, and people hate public speaking. That's how I got my fortune. And then people started begging me to teach this stuff. So I still sell my own stuff. And then I teach people to do it with my retreat center and my school and all that stuff.
Like you're almost like a mini history of real estate and marketing and sales from the 70s through the 90s so far. Really interesting. So I'm noticing a pattern. It's like execution, like that's a big deal here. Like it sounds like you get an idea, getting hit in the head with a book, or you read this thing on real estate, and then you go apply it and execute it. I'm trying to figure out, as we're listening to you, just what are some of the little things that I can.
Okay, well, I have one for you. I can boil it down. Is whatever you do, and this is a progression in my life. So whatever you do, you try to be really excellent at it. That's my dad taught me that. I mean, right from when I'm a little kid, I remember even when I could walk and understand language, he was always pushing excellence on. So when you get really excellent at something, people notice, and people that want to do what you do will ask you to teach them. So when I wanted to become I was an entertainer, but I didn't know how to be a professional speaker. So I started studying. In my library, there's probably 200 public speaking books. And I was just immersed in it to get really good at it. And then people started noticing, look at him, boy, he's cleaning up out there. And so they asked me to teach them. And I was teaching them so much, I couldn't do my own work. So that's when I wrote the Wake 'em Up presentation skills book and created a video system. And I was selling 30 of them a month for $1,000 a piece for a long time. And so it was being excellent. Then when the internet came along, I said, I'm going to figure this out. So I dug in and became good at it. People noticed and asked me to teach them that. So you become great at something and then make money doing it and teaching it. And sometimes you quit doing it to teach it. So many people want you to do it.
Well, I get that, and I'm interested in this. So you take the idea, you immerse yourself in it, you get good at it, but you have to execute. So many entrepreneurs and would-be, people who want to be entrepreneurs get lost in that overthinking to execution side.
They're dreamers.
Over planning, the dreamer side. What is it about what you were doing that you were able to go from, real estate investing, owning a bar, public speaking, all of these different things, and executing so quickly? I get the immersion because a lot of people can do that. They'll get lost in immersion, which is procrastination too sometimes. But then you went to executing it and then becoming quote unquote excellent or good or enough that people wanted to learn from you. What is your execution strategy? Like, what is it about it you execute quickly?
Well, a lot of people talk about this, but it was most people have a fear of failure, where I had no fear of failure at all. With what my dad instilled in me since can't even walk. it's like you go until you get the job done. And I play mind games on myself too. One of the mind games I play is I announce what I'm going to do to the world.
Right.
And then I'm too embarrassed not to do it, because a lot of people say, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then they don't do it. And now everybody thinks, he's a dreamer. He doesn't do anything. So I'm too embarrassed to do it. So that's one of the main mind games I play on myself to do it. And then, I know, and that I've failed way more than the average person. But if you don't find the things that actually work. So that fear of failure, I think, is something people would have to work on mentally, so that they execute without fear, knowing that a lot of the things they do are not going to work. Is the old Thomas Edison thing, So that's why I execute, because I'm not afraid of failing, but I do keep my costs low. See, that's part of it, because if you fail when you just borrow $200,000 from people, then you're hiding out in Mexico so you don't get your knees broken.
Right. I mean, most of us don't have the luxury of borrowing from some of these like the tech bust that we saw in the late 90s. You just get $1 million for doing nothing, and then you bust and nothing happens.
Yeah.
Most people start by borrowing money from somebody or friends, family, or
I never borrowed any money to start any of my businesses. I mean, I did on the nightclub, I had to buy the building, right? But that was a mortgage. That wasn't really a loan kind of thing. And so in the internet stuff, you can literally make a fortune starting with virtually zero. If you got a computer and an internet connection, I got a dozen ways you can make money with no website at all, So there's no excuse if you really want to do it. And a lot of it can be on the down low. If you're embarrassed to fail, all right, don't tell anybody what you're doing. Who cares? Nobody will know. Make a pen name for yourself.
So I mean, coming from that side, and I'm 48 now, so I'm older than a lot of the younger entrepreneurs now. And
you're a babe in the woods. What do you mean 48? I can't even remember 48.
You're a little bit older than me. I won't say
a little bit, yeah.
Unless you want to share, but you've been around for a bit. So when you saw the risk that the internet, risk versus reward on internet, it was just like a no-brainer for you, probably. I mean, you had to be somewhere, you had to be in a bar getting bottles thrown at you to make a living. You had to ask, landlords to let you to use their mortgage. Mm-hmm. All of these things, and public speaking. That's one of the top fears of anybody. Right. You did that business. So when the internet came about, you're like, oh crap, I can push some buttons. I can eventually talk into the computer, but you could do stuff out there and make business happen. So what were some of the first businesses that you did online successfully? Oh,
I was just trying to sell my own stuff that I sold at the back of the room. So it was selling, there was no Ebooks in those days. There was, it was just, and it was almost impossible to get a merchant account if you worked out of your home. And in those days, shopping cart systems, I paid $2,000, and it would, if it actually got the sale right, we'd throw like a party in the office. So it was pretty crazy Wild West in those days. It took me a year to get my book cover on my website. It was all straight HTML.
So for people who don't know, I was just going to really quickly summarize your public speaking side. A lot of people don't know when you say back of the room, like if some of those that are familiar with Russell Brunson or, some of these other ones that grew up learning from people who sold public speaking gigs and then turned them into webinars. Public speaking gigs, you go up and talk on a subject, and then you had materials or courses or whatever you're selling at the back of the room. And the whole idea was to make an offer and do such a compelling speech and make an offer that people would run to the back of the room and buy what you had back then. And that's what you mean when you were taking the back of the room stuff to the internet.
Exactly. Yeah. The things that I sold at speaking engagements. Yeah. And now there's a lot of those are dried up because of the pandemic thing, but they'll come back because there's nothing substitutes for live, a live meeting where people can see each other. But so it was public speaking stuff to start with, hard copies, audio tapes, Then eventually it turned into CDs, and then DVDs came along, but it wasn't too much online courses in those days. I mean, it took like 3 hours to download a video that would only play at about 1 inch big. All right. So there was none of multimedia at those times. I mean, blogs didn't come around until 2004. All right. So, and then you started getting into social media, and nowadays every 5 minutes, some new thing happens you got to learn. But in those days, it was pretty rudimentary.
So you were first just selling your back of the room stuff online, and then you started just coming up with the idea that courses or books?
Well, people started begging me. That's when people started begging me. And I got to the point I could hardly get my own work done. I'm still on the road speaking, and more people were asking me to speak on internet then. And so that's when I just started, my mailing list was already pushing 100,000. We hit 150,000 at one point. Wow. And so I was getting just pummeled with, questions and how do you do this and that. So it was a necessity to make courses because people couldn't possibly afford what I would have to charge to talk to them one-on-one. Right. And so I made courses. So that's the whole thing, is get your knowledge out of your head into a saleable format so that anybody can give you money. And then some of the people will say, hey, I want more attention and I'll pay you for it. So, okay, great. I know that Corey Rudel guy I told you about. I paid $1,230 for half an hour to talk to him in 1996. All right. So
that was some money then. Right?
That was that was massive thing. But he taught me, just one of the things he taught me, it was called advertorials. It's a web page to sell. It's like a sales letter, but it doesn't look like a sales letter. It looks like a big article. That one page, just one page, has made me $1 million. Not the whole site, just that one page that he taught me. So, when somebody has blazed the trail and they're credible, that's the people you want to learn from, because I don't mind failing, but if I can not fail, that's even better.
Getting mentorship, learning from people's past mistakes. A lot of people talk so much about how there's nothing new under the sun. So why not learn from the people who took the stuff and already blazed a trail for it? So you were talking about, and this is the best way to test a market. Like when we talk in marketing and sales and people who know a little bit about it, it's like the best thing you can get is the feedback from a list already of what they want. Yeah. All you have to do is create that for them. That's right. Not everyone has that luxury of that. So you made a list, which is, so many people talk about the money's in the list, and you built this list. Was it intentionally building the list along the way?
Yeah, because
fell back into it.
Yeah, it was part of it. Corey taught me that right in the beginning. He said, the big money is going to be from email. And still to this day, 26 years later, everybody at my level makes the most money on email. They're doing all kinds of stuff on TikTok and Facebook. But if you boiled it down and had to get rid of everything but one thing, guess what? They keep their email because they have control of it. Say all these other social media things, they turn the dial on you, you disappear off the face of the earth, or change the rules on you. Where if you have an email list, you're in control of it.
And a lot of people talk about that too. Some of these people, I mentioned Russell Brunson a lot. I listened to him a lot, and I went through some of his private trainings. And he's build your list and pull the list. Use all the channels: Facebook, Google, SEO, Messenger, TikTok, Instagram, whatever. And you got to pull them into your little black box, he calls it. But the easiest way to do that is email list, and then you have that. And I know friends of mine who have successful businesses that just talk about the very low rate of email response and opens and conversions. But literally everyone who's a 7-8 figure earner says having that list and being able to shoot out an email, and if you have 100,000 people on your list, 50,000, whatever, if you grow it to that size, you can fund houses, with a couple of emails,
Yeah, and the people who are saying that, I just don't think they're keeping up with the times and doing it well enough, because you have to really be good at writing copy. And, I have a whole course on that too, because that's the number one skill in my entire business career that's made me the most money. Being able to write or say the words or put them in a blog posting or in a Facebook ad or whatever it is, that make people want the stuff that you have, so that's the skill that everybody needs to improve on, no matter what they're doing, because cost a lot to buy that service from other people.
Right.
So get the skill yourself. I mean, I could have spent $5-10 million over the years if I'd have just paid for all the copy that I use, but that money's in my pocket because I just learned a skill. It's different than writing a book too. It's a different kind of skill.
How talented were you say you were at copy and the idea of using words to get somebody to react a certain way beforehand, or was it something that you think anyone can really learn?
Well, I was doing it at 10 years old. I was pretty good student and everything, but that was just by accident. But I started studying it very early, and it's a skill that anybody can improve on, and there's technique to it. So if you learn the techniques, then you will improve at it, and the better you get, the more money pours in your front door. Put it that way. So,
yeah.
And a lot of people can't even spell that well. It doesn't matter. It's a lot of the writing now is short and choppy because of short attention spans, and people are skimmers. And so you don't have to be able to write a novel. I couldn't write a novel. I'm not that, have that kind of brain for character development and all that. That's for how-to stuff, and how-to products and information products. You can really make rapid progress in your copywriting skills.
Right. Being a communicator, that comes up as one of the top skills. So we're talking about top skills of some people who, are very successful in internet and in marketing and sales in general. And Tom, and we're hearing things like persistence, all the same things you always hear: perseverance, thinking outside the box, how to become a communicator, whether it's written word or speaking word. I mean, being a communicator is one of the all-time biggest money makers. I mean, if you can't convey an idea to somebody else, either by speaking or handing them a note, I mean, you're not going to make it. And sales was something that helped me a lot throughout my life. And, having to speak in public, I was in finance for a while, and I was in municipal finance, and we'd go and sell bonds, and we had to do these big bond meetings at these boards, and sometimes there'd be not happy people that something passed, and you have to learn how to, and those were so uncomfortable for me. But later I can get up and talk about anything now because I've had people really upset about large sums of money, and you learn that. So becoming a communicator, learning how to write a little bit better. Your copywriting course sounds amazing. So this encyclopedia of knowledge, what are some of the things that you have right now? These courses, more people can learn a little bit about you and where to find some of them.
Oh, well, I've got probably 300 products. So
Name
over the
your top
years,
three.
Copywriting is probably one of the best bargains because I went to Texas one time to study with Ted Nicholas. He is one of the old timer, big $1 billion kind of copywriters. I paid $4,500 for just headlines. I've identified about 31 different elements that go into a sales letter, and I paid $4,500 plus airfare and hotel just to learn one of them. So my whole course is $297. So it's called Copywriting 901, the fast track that writing words that sell. So that's one of them. If anybody's interested in speaking, they could just pick up an ebook of Wake 'em Up business presentations. It's an older book, but I still to this day use the same exact techniques on stage, and I've never been beaten at the back of the room in 20 years. So and never less than $100,000. So it's really powerful. I have a book called and my podcast, by the way, is Screw the Commute. So,
so we didn't get to
you were on there. Yeah,
I was on there.
Yeah, so there's a resource page there that leads you to all my ebooks. I have ebooks like $20 that could change your whole life. I have one, How to Be in Front of 1 Million Warm Prospects in the Next 90 Days. It teaches you what to say to people like me to get us to promote you. There's just lots of little things like that can really change your life. And then I have the big mentor program, which is at greatinternetmarketingtraining.com, where it's a year-long program. You have an immersion weekend in my retreat center here. We have a TV studio here where we shoot marketing videos for you. And it's got a unique financial aspect to it, in that guys at my level were charging 50 or $100,000 to teach you this stuff. And I knew a lot of these guys. They're ripoffs. So they'd be hiding out in Mexico if you gave them $50,000. So I
You're
turned
giving
it
yourself
upside.
away though, Tom, because we know where you're going to run to if anything crap ever hits the fan, man. You'll be in Mexico.
Yeah. So I turned it upside down, made them all mad by just charging an entry fee, but then I tied my success to their success. And so for me to get my 50,000, they have to make 200,000 net. And so people loved that. And 1,700 students later, that's still going strong. So those are
a website. Where can we go on and find out?
That one's greatinternetmarketingtraining.com. And folks, when you go there, don't come and tell me how ugly it is. I've made fortunes on the ugliest websites you can ever imagine. Everybody worries about making stuff gorgeous. And I say, well, I got this great website. Oh yeah. How much money is it making? Well, not, but it's very pretty. Look how nice it looks.
Oh yeah.
It has to look good enough to represent you well professionally, and it has to make money, or it ain't a great website for it.
Right. I've heard that.
Screwthecommute.com is great too for the podcast. Yeah.
And we're going to provide all of those links. They'll be in the show notes, and it'll be on the blog post, on our blog post about this too. So please check it out. You can go to breakthroughcode.io, and it'll be in the show notes as well. So
Did you say you wanted to talk about ebooks?
Yes, we're not completely done yet. We're going to pick you just a little bit longer, if that's okay with you.
No, yeah, I'm here for you.
I mean, I know that you're a talker, but your time is also valuable. I love hearing about this. I mean, we could dive down for an hour or so on any one subject that you have in here. So
that thing I did the other night was I did a master class. It was 3 hours and 40 minutes. Some people they knew they were going to get the replay. One guy that we know, one of our buddies, Kerry Jack, he went and played a soccer game in the middle of it, came back, and I was still talking.
Are you serious?
Yeah. He went to play soccer for a whole match, and then came back, and Stephanie was still there taking notes. And he said, "What are you doing?" "Well, Tom's still talking."
That's awesome.
See, masterclass means there's details. That's one thing that people, they say, okay, well, make an ebook and put it on Amazon, you'll get rich. No, if you don't know the details, that's why people quit too early. They get sucked into something, but, and it could be very profitable if they knew the details and did all the stuff necessary, but they say, oh, no, it didn't work. No, you didn't work is the question.
Right. Or you didn't do the work, or you didn't know enough about it. So learning enough about it. Now you're talking about all of these products that you're creating now. So once you figured out the internet and you could figure I could push some buttons and make commerce happen, and you love the idea, you started pushing forth all of this stuff that people were requesting, and then coming up with your own ideas, I'm assuming too. How does somebody like that you 300 products or something ridiculous like that now? What is your course building? I mean, some of them are courses. Let's talk about ebooks and make it a little bit simpler. What's your ebook strategy? Like, how do you go from concept, or someone saying, hey, I really like to speak from the stage, or I'd really like to learn fatso tennis is one of the things.
Right. That's one of mine.
And whatever. And then you say, take that idea. I'm going to, process it out for us to where you get a product to sell.
Well, a lot of people have looked at my stuff and said, oh, did you take instructional design in college? And no, I said, I grew up in a town where we have common sense, and so, and it's all how-to products. So it's logic. I sit down and think, okay, what's the logical order to teach people this? What do they need to know first? I can't teach them how to sell at the back of the room if they can't open and keep people's attention throughout a speech, so I just put things in logical order. I mean, it's the simplest thing. And when I write an ebook, I make what I call a skeleton. I grab a regular printed book off the shelf. I take a Word document and I say, okay, there's a title page. And then in Word, you hit Control Enter. That's a page break. And then, okay, that's a copyright page in this printed book. I'm going to put a copyright page, Control Enter. Then table of contents, Control Enter. So I make this skeleton, chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, conclusion. All of these are just laid out, all blank. But now I've got this thing to fill in. So if I'm limited on time, I could just say, okay, I'm going to work on the introduction today. And then it's going to be there waiting for me when I come back. But usually I crank these out pretty quick. You're going to be amazed at this. Like I did one, I don't know, 3 weeks ago, 6 hours it took me. On a Friday, I released it on Saturday morning. By Sunday night, it brought in $2,000 at 97% profit. So the next weekend, I'm sitting around here because of this pandemic, and I say, okay. So I started writing one on Friday morning, part-time, finished it Saturday evening, released it on Sunday. By Monday night, it brought in a couple thousand. So now, but my big hitter is I took, there's another mind game I play on myself, is I use what I call my throwaway time to produce stuff. So I was at a layover, a 4-hour layover at McCarran Airport in Las Vegas, and I wrote an ebook. And that ebook has brought in $3.6 million from that 4-hour investment, and still between $5,000 and $15,000 a month as I sit here talking to you. So
that's one time you weren't upset about being laid over.
No, heck, I said I could have put in an extra conclusion if they'd have given me another hour. But people
That's
say,
amazing.
that sounds like BS, but here, how can, and by the way, it's a free ebook. I didn't get any money for the ebook. So this is the thing on
sales that the leads led from.
Yeah, it led to something else that I told them all this great stuff, but you can't do it unless you go buy this tool. And I make $600 a year per person that's bought the tool, and they never get rid of it. See, so that's called residual affiliate programs. The tool isn't even mine. That's just my affiliate commission. I made $10 million for that company, and my share was 3.6 million so far. So it's really good to crank these out. Now, I used to have a really big book, 1,042 pages. For 10 years, it dominated the industry, but it got too big. People wouldn't consume it anymore. So you really want people to consume your stuff so you can break it down into more specific one topic books. And people you still get $17, $27 for them.
How big are these books are we talking about that you can crank out in 4 hours?
They vary between 40 pages of 8.5 by 11 to a couple hundred. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be real big, but here, my philosophy, when people ask me all the time, how many pages should my ebook be? Like they want to get the least amount of work into it. I said, quit thinking like that. Think like this. Think like, I want that person reading it to think, I can't believe I got so much value for so little money. When you think like that, you'll kill yourself to go put extra stuff in the book and make it so great that your name starts to come out, that if your name is on it, people will buy it. Sometimes I don't write sales letters anymore.
Right.
I just put it in the email because they know it's going to be valuable. I wrote another book one time called One Sentence Business Plan. I've lived my whole life with this one sentence. I create quality products at a reasonable price that somebody really wants, and I service them after the sale. If every company on earth would just do that, they'd be further ahead.
I love that. So let me unpack a couple of things there really quick. So you were saying perfect response to that question of how long should it be. It needs to be as long as it needs to be, so for the person gets amazing value from it and thinks, holy crap, anything that I see with Tom Antion's name on it, I'm going to go check out. For a while, I was with several different.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
I also have a protection dog company.
There you go. It's a good one. It's not a recording. There's some people like, Russell Brunson or Gary Vaynerchuk. There's all these people out there doing stuff. And for a while with Russell Brunson, I would be so scared of getting an email from him because I'm like, shit, what is he going to make me buy today?
Yeah, right.
And he'd say, I'm just going to give this thing away. And he tells you about it. You're like, crap, I got to get the free thing. And then I don't even want to look at the next offer page because he's going to do something so amazing, full of value. Anyways, that's the tact you take. And I just heard it from another person I was listening to on YouTube earlier today. They were like, don't worry about the other side of it. Provide so much value over such a long period of time. You're going to make money. The money will make itself from there.
Yeah, and I apologize about the dogs. I couldn't put them where they need to be.
Let's take a quick pause. I'm just going to raise my hand there. Are we good with the?
Well, a lot of times I can tell about the protection dog company.
Yeah.
How I just spun off one of my things is making your hobbies tax deductible. And I couldn't put them because of the big leak we had where they're supposed to be for this recording. So
okay. I got you. Well,
so it's better to just,
you just raise your hand if it's something else you got to handle.
No, I don't have to handle anything, but it's just a segue. And when I do my podcast, I just tell everybody, but
yeah. All right.
It's
so we'll go back into it. All right. Boom. Thanks for that. So provide as much value as you can. And the rest, got his attack dogs. Hopefully the person is getting what's coming to him, man.
Yeah. Well, this brings up a point because I was telling Vince earlier, folks, that because of this big leak I had yesterday, I can't put the dogs away to keep them quiet. But it does bring up a point that I've been teaching for years, to make your hobbies tax deductible. So I did a job for a big protection dog company. And instead of my fee, which would have been $20,000, they gave me a fully trained protection dog. And the marketing manager almost turned white when the boss said to give him Rubik's. And I'm like, I don't know, what's Rubik's mean? And the marketing manager said, he's worth $50,000. So they gave me a $50,000 dog for helping him. And so I started getting into protection dog business. So I'm not a professional trainer. I take the orders online and then pass them on to the trainers and just take 25% off the top. And they start at like $20,000 and go up to way, way higher. Because it cost a lot of money for me to handle this Rubik's dog and all the stuff that you have, because he's can be very dangerous. So
what's the dog breed?
German Shepherd.
Oh yeah, I figured.
Yeah. So I thought I got to make this tax deductible somehow, all this stuff. And so same with my Fatso tennis you talked about, all this stuff is expensive. So I make a website and sell a DVD on tennis. And in this case, these dogs are the models to sell protection dogs to the public, which they need them now. We call it the bullet you can retract. And so I apologize that I couldn't move them around because of the leak we had yesterday.
No, I'd love to hear that. So that's
make your hobbies tax deductible, folks. make your family interest, camping, anything. Put a website up. And even if you don't want to make a product, you sell affiliate products. And now you're legitimately tax deductible and you're doing the stuff you love.
That's why he has 300 products, everybody. This guy is like an encyclopedia.
A lot of hobbies.
On the ebook thing, to kind of try to wrap that up a little bit. Yeah. So you outline it, you do a skeleton, you fill up as much as you need on the chapters. All you're talking about is hacking something else. And you see a book and you just fill out the thing.
That's just to give me the skeleton.
Right. Frameworks of success. You look at what other people are doing, what's standard in the industry. And then you fill out as much value as you need. If it needs to be 40 pages, it needs to be 200 pages. You provide as much value as possible. And then do you always tie it to an offer, or is it always part of a funneling up process?
Every book always leads to something else. See, books are the most hassle, least profitable thing you'll ever do. It's what the book leads to. Now, you can't just make it a big sales letter because you'll get immediate bad reviews and the whole project is dead. So you give the high value, but in the book, you lead to something else. And that could be something of yours or something of an affiliate. So it always leads to something else. Absolutely, always.
Okay. Do you do that in the immediate, or just the first one's the book? They get the book, you let them consume it, or do you always do like a one-time offer, or do you tie it to something right away?
The things are organically put into the book. So just off the top of my head, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. So some holistic healthcare practitioner writes an ebook on how to, be healthy and take care of yourself and natural. And she really likes these lavender scented pillows to calm you down and stuff. Well, she doesn't make pillows. Mm-hmm. So she has an affiliate link that leads to pillows after she talked about pillows in the book. See, most people try to put a big list of stuff and then nobody buys anything because it's, a confused mind votes no all the time. So you organically put them in, and you can have 15 or 20 of them in a book, as long as they make sense to people that, oh, yeah, my neck's been hurting and I have trouble falling asleep. I think I'll try one of these lavender pillows. Boom, they click the link, they go buy it, you get a commission. Okay? So almost everything is embedded in the book organically, not just, go buy this that has nothing to do with the book.
Right. No, that makes absolute sense. That's brilliant strategy. As you're working now, you said the pandemic's leading to all of these ideas and a lot of free time to be able to do this stuff. Do you have a particular a goal or number that you put out, or just if the idea comes to you, you plan it, execute it, get it out there? Or do you say, I'm going to do about 2 or 4 a month or anything?
I'm not much of a planner or bean counter. I'm like, now I'm going to do this. It's done. I'm going to make money. Next thing. Yeah. So some people plan way in advance, but no, I'm not. It's not that that's bad. It's just, it's not my personality. My personality is like, all right, that's a good idea. I'm going to go do it now. And then I knock it out and boom.
Execution knocks it out. So if you were going to say somebody like me or somebody new to the market of wanting to do an ebook or an information product and get it out there based on their knowledge, and they don't have the luxury of the hard-earned list that you call it a luxury, but you built a list over time and that you earned it. So selling into that right away, how would you say we go about the first steps of getting a book, and then what traffic sources do you like the best?
Oh, that's easy. So I wrote a book called How to Be in Front of 1 Million Warm Prospects in the Next 90 Days. And the main title is JV, Joint Venture. Mm-hmm. So the guys like me that have big lists get approached 20 times a week by people wanting us to promote their stuff. But out of a whole year, 3 or 4 of them knew what to say to us. And so I teach people what to say to people. Now, for instance, somebody comes to me and says, Tom, I got this parenting product. You got 100,000 people, most of them are parents. You should promote it. And I'm thinking, take a hike. You don't know how to play the game. Right. If I promoted your parenting product, I would get cussed out in 18 languages and 5,000 people would unsubscribe in the next 6 hours. Because they might be parents, but they're not on my list because they're parents. You got to go find somebody that's got a list of people that want to be better parents and say the right things to them. For instance, I'll just give you a couple of the things.
Please do.
Is that you don't want to make the list owner your guinea pig. They sweated blood to get all these people. And you can't come to them with an untested product and say, hey, try this out. No, I'm not going to try it out. You go do some pay-per-click or do a small list owner who's more hungry and come to me and say something like this. Well, Tom, I tried this on a list of a guy had 500 people. We got 120 people to click through to the sales letter. And out of that, 4 people bought my $497 product, which was a 2% conversion. And I'm sitting here thinking, thank you, God. Somebody's coming to me with, and talking to me correctly. And so now you got even if the numbers weren't great, I know you know how to play the game. You're not asking me to be your guinea pig.
Right.
And so I'd get interested and I'd say, oh, well, yeah, maybe let me see the sales letter that you sent to, and let me see the list that you sent to. Maybe we can tweak it. Maybe I'll do a small portion of my list and we'll test it. But if you just come to me and say, here, try this product. No, I'm not going to do it. I did it in my early days, but I won't. So there's like a whole bunch of parameters. If you approach the joint venture partner, we all want to make money from our list, but we're so sick of people that have no clue coming to us, and we're not going to do it because we'll lose subscribers, and each subscriber is worth cash, money, and if they unsubscribe, I got to replace them.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost like a big,
venture.
It's almost like a big, well-known retailer store or something, or Macy's or something. We'll put you on par with Macy's there. I know that you dress exceptionally fine.
Yeah, right.
But it's like asking them, like, I've never tested this new product. Why on earth would they put it in their store?
Right. They're not going to. They're paying $100 a square foot for retail space in some big cities, and no, they're not going to do it. So, and it has to have enough money involved in it. Some people come to me, well, I got this $10 ebook. I'll give you $5 a sale. Some of the things I promote I get a $2,000 commission. So they're coming to me, and I'm not mean to them. They're just, they're unknowing people, but they don't know my world. And so they come to me with stuff that doesn't make any sense. I mean, I'd have to send 400 of their books to equal one commission of $2,000. So do you have any targets on your JVs that you look at dollar-wise or number-wise? Or, I mean, you're talking about numbers there. No, I don't have any specific numbers, but I do. As long as it's, for instance, there's a marketer, Daniel Hall. He says this. He says, I put him on the map. I was selling all this public speaking stuff, had 100,000 professional speakers on a list. He comes to me with an ebook he wrote on how to speak on cruise ships. Well, it's related to me, but I got offered 100 cruises. I didn't want them. I didn't take them. The internet's crappy. They'll throw me overboard in international waters and I'll never be found again. The sharks will have a field day. So I promoted him, and he says I put him on the map. So boom, bunch of sales, and now he's a very well-known internet marketer. So, but he came to me with something that made sense. Even it wasn't a big money product, but this has been 10 years ago or so. It was totally related. So I will bend a little bit if it's perfect for my people, to give them stuff that they could use. And I didn't make as much money as a big product, but it still was so perfect for my list. Nobody unsubscribed, for that, and loads of people bought it. So I don't have any specific numbers, but people will get their own numbers when they see the numbers they have to make. But, that's only one portion of all the stuff I got going. So I don't fret over a lot of stuff or worry too much. I just keep putting out good stuff.
Good point on that is know how to approach and leverage those people above you that have your ideal customer audience there. It's, so you come up with an idea for an ebook and you're thinking the first thing I do is got to push the buttons on pay-per-click. Maybe that is true, but also think about the people you could reach out to in your own networks or within your own extended networks, or go, like people say, is target the top, 100 people that in your market that could help you, that already have your customer, and figure out how to work your way up the ladder too. You don't always start with somebody who has 100,000 person list. You could start with somebody that has 2,000 people, 5,000, 10,000. Mm-hmm. It's really about going out and trying to leverage those, thinking outside the box, approaching people. It's been a pleasure, Tom. I mean, we could go on, and we're about an hour into it, so I'm going to be respectful of your time. Is there any last words that you want to wrap us up with, or give us any opinion, and then I'll let you tell us.
Just one final point with regard to the joint venturing. We want you. We all want you, us big list owners. We want you to come to us with deals because we want to monetize our list. But if you come the right way, you'll have, you don't even have to be that good at it to pass up most of the people that come to us. So I always boil down, announce what you're going to do. And scratch and crawl, and don't quit too early, because that's why most people fail. Be persistent and consistent, give before you get, and, be fair to people with my one sentence business plan. Create quality stuff that everybody wants and at a reasonable price, and service them after the sale.
Man, and have some fun in the process, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just have a blast. These dogs are great, and I have fun. I wrote custom humor for 6 years, so I'm always ready.
Man, I got so many other questions, man. In our mastermind, I'll try to unpack some of it too.
We can do a part 2 someday.
Good. Yeah, exactly, man. Good stuff, Tom. I appreciate it. Where can people find out more about you again?
Yeah, go to screwthecommute.com, and then that leads to everything if you put /resources. And then subscribe to my podcast. You'll get to hear Vince on there. I don't remember what number episode it was, but he was on there.
100 and something, I think.
Yeah, it was recent. And then if, I'm very accessible. Nobody at my level will talk to anybody. But I will. I love talking to you.
I loved having Tom in our group. We're learning so much, and he's on a health kick now too. So he's down about, I don't know, certain
20
amount of
pounds. Yep. 20 pounds. Yep. 20.
Good job, man. Yeah. So, it's so much more than we'd love to have you back on, man. So I appreciate your time. For all of you listening right now, go to breakthroughcode.io. We're going to have the blog post up. I'm not even going to try to transcribe this. It's a lot of words in here. So, even though Tom has some great transcription services, but go to our Facebook page, follow us, go and subscribe to our Apple. And we're going to be having some of our own ebooks coming out soon here in 2021, helping small businesses and entrepreneurs get their first legs up online with some SEO background. I owned an SEO agency for the last 7 years now, and we're helping people search engine optimize their brand, their products, and creating a platform for themselves to be able to sell from. So thanks for listening. This is Breakthrough Code. My name is Vince Trujillo, and thank you to our guest, Tom Antion. You all have a great day, and we'll see you next time.